My name is Emily, and the worst thing my manager ever said to me happened in front of a client and a dozen people on a video call. I had just finished explaining a technical risk tied to a $75,000 client project. I had the documents, the timestamps, and the test results. Instead of listening, he cut me off and said, "You should be grateful you even have a job." The screen went quiet. The client blinked. My hands were steady, but my heart felt like it had dropped through the floor. I worked as the lead quality analyst at Vertex Support Solutions. We ran a support center for a cloud integration product called Pulse Connect. My team managed client onboarding calls, monitored call quality, and tracked every risk and escalation. For 9 months, I had been the person clients trusted when integrations went sideways. My work mattered because a delayed integration could cost a client tens of thousands of dollars, and my risk logs were the only thing between a smooth launch and a contract cancellation. The manager was Laura. She was the kind of person whose pride lived in meeting summaries and whose favorite line was, "Figures don't lie." She loved being the face of any success. She hated anyone who outshone her in front of a client. At first, she was warm. She praised my attention to detail in front of the team and asked me to lead the pulse audits for large projects. Later, I learned that warmth was just a stage light. Her real talent was credit stealing and then making sure anyone who objected felt small. The $75,000 project was for a new client called Meridian Health Systems. They were paying $75,000 for a phased integration of Pulse Connect into their patient referral workflow. The onboarding was tight. 5 milestones in 8 weeks with a mandatory go-live on June 1. I ran the risk assessment 3 weeks before kickoff and found a configuration flaw in how Pulse Connect handled duplicate referral IDs. If left uncorrected, duplicates would create a loop and generate false billing records. I logged the finding in a document labeled Risk Assessment 75K, PDF, attached trace logs, and sent it to the project channel with a calendar invite for a mitigation meeting in conference room B3. The calendar invite had meeting ID and timestamps and included Laura, the client lead, and 2 engineers. Laura RSVP'd yes the same hour. She also forwarded my note to the client with a line that read, "Emily flagged a possible non-critical behavior. We will watch." That phrasing softened the actual risk. I replied in the thread, "This is not just behavior to watch. It creates duplicate billing if sets are not merged during the incoming referral stage. I recommend a patch and a mitigation script. I can outline steps in the mitigation meeting." Her reply was a thumbs-up emoji. That was the last time I saw clear ownership, 7 days before the worst call everything was stable. Then the escalation began, day 1, the missed mitigation. The engineer assigned to the patch fell ill and floated a message in the team chat. Laura marked the patch as low priority and moved the mitigation meeting from conference room B3 to a drop-in slot on the team's schedule. 2 hours later, she sent a project status update to Meridian Health Systems that said, "All risks are under control." I answered the update with a concise note, "Risk remains open, no mitigation deployed. See Risk Assessment 75K, PDF." I stayed calm. I breathed. I printed the risk document, circled the key lines, and saved the email thread with a timestamp. I also saved a screenshot of the calendar move and an exported copy of the team chat that showed the move and the engineer's illness message. I did not argue with Laura in public. I documented, day 2, the first email pile-up. Meridian Health Systems started reporting inconsistent referral counts. Our ticketing system logged 5 support tickets from their technical team over a 6-hour period. The header line said ticket 4521 through ticket 4525. Each ticket described duplicate referral entries and asked for immediate rollback. Laura replied to the first ticket with, "Our team is investigating." Then she sent a group email where she wrote, "Emily is handling the logs." She never actually told me she reassigned ownership. I kept working. I pulled the Pulse Connect audit logs, matched the duplicate timestamps, and annotated them in a working document called Audit Notes June, PDF. I saved every export and I sent an internal note to the engineering lead that said, "Patch still needed. Duplicates confirmed in logs, attaching Audit Notes June, PDF." The engineering lead acknowledged with, "Seeing it now." I saved that reply too, day 3, the public complaint. Meridian Health Systems posted a short note in our client portal. "Referral counts are unreliable as of 2:13 p.m. on Thursday. We cannot do billing reconciliation." The note had 32 views within the first hour. The view count showed up on my dashboard and on Laura's. She called an ad hoc client call, and I joined to present the audit findings. On the call, Meridian's technical director asked for a timeline for a fix. I explained the mitigation script. Laura interrupted and said, "We will apply a quick filter to stop duplicates. Emily will provide the script later." The client asked for a rollback option and a statement for their finance team. Laura turned to me and said quietly enough that only the team could hear, "Make it sound urgent in the email so they see we moved fast." She then closed the call by promising the client a root cause analysis within 48 hours. I mouthed, "No," to myself, but kept my face neutral. I documented the call notes and saved the recording. Day 4, blame started to form. A client finance person emailed our account manager asking whether Meridian would get a credit for the bad referral billing. The account manager forwarded the note to Laura and asked for a decision. Laura wrote back, "Not our fault. Emily handled logs incorrectly and likely introduced duplicates." The account manager copied Meridian's finance person into the thread. I read the thread and felt the color drain from my face. Now it was not a technical problem. It was a person problem. Laura had shifted the story from system flaw to human error. I replied to the thread with, "That is inaccurate. I logged the risk on May 10 at 9:14 a.m. in Risk Assessment 75K PDF. I recommended a patch and included Audit Notes June PDF with duplicate timestamps." She replied with a curt, "Please keep internal emails internal." The account manager wrote, "We need to control the message." I sat back and did the one thing that felt right. I saved every email, stamped each file with the date and time, and sent a private note to 2 witnesses, the engineering lead and the project coordinator. I wrote, "I am preserving documents in case the sequence is needed." The engineering lead replied, "Agreed. I have the patch in my branch." The project coordinator replied, "I remember the mitigation meeting moved." Both replies sat quietly in my archive. Day 5, reputational loss. Someone from our quality assurance team leaked a one-line summary to the internal chat. It said, "Meridian pain from mismanaged risk, fingers pointed at Emily." Within an hour, the chat devolved into gossip. My peers avoided my desk. People I had mentored stopped asking for my advice. The client was angry in public, and Meridian's LinkedIn post hinted at choosing a different vendor. The account pipeline for Pulse Connect integrations dipped by 14% for the quarter as leads asked for reassurances. The company lost momentum, and the finance team started calculating potential penalties. I felt the space tightening. I stayed calm. I made a list of every metric that mattered. Number of tickets 32 after duplicates piled up. Client portal views 32, potential invoice adjustments estimated at $12,000. A 14% dip in new leads for the quarter. I saved those screenshots too. Day 6, the final shove. Laura called me into meeting room 4C and handed me a copy of a formal complaint she had filed with the Human Resources inbox. It said I had escalated without following chain of command and had alarmed the client. She was smiling like she had won something. She said, "This is a pattern, Emily. You need to be more careful. Human Resources will review." I kept my voice steady and said, "Please add my documentation to the Human Resources file." I did not explode. I did not beg. I copied Risk Assessment 75K, PDF, Audit Notes June, PDF, the calendar invite trail with conference room B3, the exported chat logs, and the ticket history into a zipped folder. I attached the folder to an email and sent it to the Human Resources inbox with the subject line, "Documentation for Meridian Health Systems Risk Review." I also sent the same folder to the engineering lead and the project coordinator with the note, "Preserving this for transparency." Then I went back to my desk and kept working. That night I thought I had lost. The rumors meant potential blacklist. The formal complaint meant a possible performance review and even termination. The client might switch vendors. My reputation was damaged. My chest felt tight and I tried to sleep. I replayed calls in my head and could hear the silence after Laura's insult on the Meridian call. I almost believed she had won. I almost believed I would be one email out of a job by Monday. I stayed up and outlined a plan. I would not panic. I would prove the timeline and let documentation speak. I built a folder named Meridian Evidence with subfolders organized by date. The first subfolder was May 10 Risk Assessment 75K, PDF, timestamped 9:14 a.m. The second subfolder had Conference Room B3 calendar invite with RSVPs and a change log showing Laura moved the meeting on May 17 at 11:02 a.m. The third had the exported team chat with the engineer illness message. The fourth had ticket 4521 through ticket 4552 with timestamps spanning a 48-hour window. The fifth contained audit notes June, PDF with the duplicate timestamps and a patch proposal. The sixth had client portal screenshots showing 32 views. Each file was named with the date, the document type, and a short description. I printed 2 copies, one for my files and one for the human resources folder I had already submitted. The turning point came when Meridian Health Systems scheduled a conference escalation call with Vertex Support Solutions leadership. They requested everyone critical to the project: Meridian's Chief Technical Officer, our Senior Account Manager, the Chief Executive Officer, Laura, and me. The Chief Executive Officer could not be ignored. The call was set for June 7 at 9:00 a.m. Meridian said they wanted a public timeline and a clear statement of responsibility. They also threatened contract termination if they did not see a plan. On the morning of the call, I arrived in conference room A1 20 minutes early. I brought a laptop, a printed binder, a clean copy of Risk Assessment 75K, PDF, and a folder labeled Meridian Evidence. I also had my phone with all the chat exports and email screenshots. I set the binder on the table and sat down. Laura arrived with a smug smile. She was wearing a blazer that made her look exactly like a person who makes executive decisions without consequences. She took the seat opposite me. The call opened, and Meridian's Chief Technical Officer spoke first. He said, "We have lost billing accuracy, and we are asking for a clear timeline and who is responsible." The Chief Executive Officer from Vertex spoke calmly and asked Laura to give a summary. Laura launched into a prepared speech about steps taken and how the issue was a rare one-off that the team was addressing. She used the phrase one-off 3 times. Then she turned to me and said, "Emily, summarize what you saw and why it is fixed now." I felt every eye on me. I opened my binder, slid Risk Assessment 75K, PDF toward the camera, and said, "I logged this risk on May 10 at 9:14 a.m. The mitigation meeting was scheduled for May 17 in conference room B3, and I recommended a patch. The audit logs show duplicates starting May 19 at 2:13 p.m. I have the export of those logs and the ticket history." I clicked my screen to share. On the shared screen, I brought up the calendar invite trail. The timestamps were visible. I highlighted May 10 and May 17. I then opened the team chat export and showed the engineer's illness message at 10:08 a.m. and Laura's calendar move at 11:02 a.m. The Chief Executive Officer leaned forward and asked Laura, "Why was a mitigation meeting moved and what was done after the engineer fell ill?" Laura faltered and offered, "We tried a quick filter. Emily handled the logs." I did not reply. I clicked to open the audit logs and then the ticket thread. I opened the email where Laura had told the account manager that I had handled the logs incorrectly. Then I opened the zipped folder I had sent to the Human Resources inbox the day before and shared the file link. I said, "I preserved everything and shared it with Human Resources on June 6. The zip folder contains Risk Assessment 75K, PDF, Audit Notes June, PDF, the calendar trail for Conference Room B3, and the ticket history for ticket 4521 through ticket 4552. It also contains the client portal screenshot with 32 views and the account manager copy of Laura's message." I kept my voice steady. The Chief Executive Officer asked to see the Human Resources timestamp that showed when I sent the documentation. I opened my email and scrolled to the sent mail. The timestamp read June 6 at 7:54 p.m. A small twist happened then that I did not plan but welcomed. The engineering lead got on the call late and said, "I pushed the patch branch on May 19 at 3:00 p.m., but it never merged. I have a commit log." Laura closed the merge request without merging to prevent a rollback. The call got louder for a second, then quieted. The project coordinator then added, "I remember being told to postpone the mitigation meeting because Laura wanted to present a clean plan during the client review next week." Now multiple threads joined into one clear picture. The Chief Executive Officer looked directly at Laura and said, "I have the meeting log. Why did you close the merge request?" Laura's face changed from smug to flushed. She said, "There were concerns about impacting the current test environment." "I thought a filter would be faster." I responded, "Your filter did not prevent duplicates. The filter only hid symptoms. The duplicate entries still landed in the billing queue." I then shared the audit logs, showing gaps where the filter hid entries and the actual duplicate timestamps that still processed. The Meridian chief technical officer scrolled through the audit logs and said, "These are time-stamped entries. We see duplicates after your filter was applied." He turned to Laura and asked, "Why did you tell our finance team this was resolved?" Laura could not answer. The chief executive officer from Vertex said, "Laura, you claimed the risk was under control in your update to Meridian. That is inconsistent with the timeline Emily provided." There was silence. I stayed calm and did not add more than the facts. I let the documents do the talking. Now the real pressure came on Laura. She tried to pivot. I was trying to manage messaging. The Meridian chief technical officer scoffed. "Messaging does not fix our invoices." The chief executive officer of Vertex spoke in a quiet, exact voice. "This looks like a mismanagement of technical risk and a misrepresentation to a client. Human resources will be involved. We will also need a remediation plan and an audit of how our merge process was handled." Laura's shoulders slumped. She looked at the screen and then at me. For the first time, she did not have a prepared line. She said, I thought I was making the call in the moment." She did not say, "You were right." She did not try to hide behind a joke. She just had no words left. The public reversal was messy and, to be honest, satisfying in the way truth landing in front of witnesses is satisfying. I did not gloat. I stayed factual. The chief executive officer asked Meridian if they wanted to pause the project, and Meridian said they wanted a remediation plan and a statement acknowledging the timeline. The legal team would draft language, and the finance team would calculate a system's credit. In front of leadership and the client, Laura admitted she had downplayed the risk and moved a meeting for optics. She admitted the filter was insufficient and that she had prematurely declared the issue under control. She apologized, but the apology felt small against a $75,000 contract and a client considering leaving. I refused to rescue her. After the call, the chief executive officer asked me privately if I could stay on to help with the remediation. Laura looked at me like she expected me to drop everything and patch a career hole for her. I said, "I will help as part of the remediation plan I already outlined, but I will not be the single point forcing fixes while others claim the credit." I insisted any remediation steps I authored be logged in the project system with my name and timestamps, and that the engineering lead be assigned as the primary owner of the code changes. I also asked that human resources keep the Meridian evidence folder in the overall file. The chief executive officer agreed and said they would review Laura's actions along with the documentation. I kept my tone level. I did not call out vengeance or demand firing. I let policy do its work. Over the next 2 weeks, Vertex Support Solutions reorganized responsibilities for Pulse Connect onboarding. Human Resources opened a review and moved Laura off client-facing projects pending investigation. She was reassigned to an internal role writing templates and lost the account manager privileges she had used to send external updates. The engineering lead merged the patch, and we ran extra audits to make sure the duplicates were cleared. Meridian Health Systems received a formal letter acknowledging the sequence of events, a remediation timetable, and a systems credit of $12,000 for the billing discrepancies. They stayed on as a client, but with stricter oversight, and signed a new milestone for a reduced scope. My personal outcome was not immediate glory. I stayed at Vertex Support Solutions for 1 final month to complete the remediation and write the post-mortem. I led a transparent review that included the calendar logs, the audit exports, the ticket history, and a recommended change to our merge process policy. The policy changes required 2 sign-offs, from the chief executive officer and from the head of technology. I presented the policy in a meeting labeled Postmortem Conference Room A1 on June 21 at 10:00 a.m. I spoke directly and calmly. I used the same evidence folder. People finally heard the full sequence without gossip or side channels. The postmortem led to a new merge workflow, a second layer of approvals for client-impacting changes, and an internal training module on documenting risk. Unexpectedly, an opportunity came. A week after the review, a recruiter from another company contacted me. They had been following the Meridian thread and the public escalation emails. They wanted someone who could not only audit risks, but also shape process in a customer-facing environment. The role was as senior process manager at a company called Northbridge Customer Integrations. The salary was higher, and the responsibility matched the changes I had been pushing for inside Vertex Support Solutions. I accepted. I gave my 2 weeks and made sure the remediation finished before I left. Laura stayed with Vertex Support Solutions for a time. Human Resources placed her on a performance plan that required documented client communications and a mentor sign-off for any public updates. She never returned to the senior account manager role. People were kinder but not oblivious. The office conversation changed. Managers started asking for documentation earlier. My team adjusted to a new process and slowly, trust rebuilt. In the end, I kept all my documentation and I kept my calm. I did not publicly shame anyone beyond what the evidence proved. I let the facts do the work. I did not rescue someone who had chosen optics over honesty. My reputation recovered because the evidence matched my words and because I stayed professional the whole time. The lesson I learned is simple. Steady work and clear documentation beat loud drama almost every time. If you do the right thing and keep records, truth has a way of finding its audience.